They were packed into this European van like sardines, like circus clowns, and they were dragging all of them out. Get out of there, you cowards! And they're not even able to scurry away. So the men are just being thrown in a pile of living men who are just like, we are sorry, we are cowards.
We don't want to die in war that is clearly lost.
Absolutely not. You are just not a real patriot. I hope that I am not. I hope you're not in my unit when it's time to defend the U.S. against the Kriegs people.
Do you really think they could win? I don't know,
dude. It's been over for so long, Kyle.
It's like, what do you mean by winning? Like the end of this, there's going to be territorial lines perhaps drawn. I think more territory is better than less. I think that that it's worth fighting for that. For a better victory. Like you don't.
Right, a better loss, even right,
or a better loss. Yeah.
This is like the postseason where it's like the Blues making the playoffs was a win. And it's like it wasn't. Like,
I don't think it's that bad.
Well, Taylor, you can surely see Kyle's point. Like, there's big loss and little loss, and that's kind of where.
I'm being silly there, but the idea that like a bunch of men in their 40s, 50s should be going to die on the front lines against their will is outrageous.
I can't tell what the truth is. Someone told me the average age of the Ukrainian recruits now are in their 50s, and I'm like, average. You have to be. I don't believe there's an equal number of 70 and 30-year-olds. Like it can't
or
be
that the
average.
Majority is 50s, or that doesn't make any sense.
That so many young people have died or fled at the onset of it.
Taylor, don't you think it just doesn't pass the sniff
There's
test that the
60,000
average
Ukrainians.
age is 50 something?
No, I didn't see 50 something. I saw like 47 or something like that last time I looked into it. But either way, that's very old, and it does make sense because like Ukraine is outmatched by Russia. Like Russia has a lot more people. Like it's been
only
literally
4 times as many. It's
been 2 straight years of Russia's running out of ammo. Russia's running out of this. Russia's supply lines are shutting down. Russia's being humiliated on the global stage. And meanwhile, they're marching forward.
I watch a lot of Ukrainian propaganda. And when I do, it can be a little tough to figure out like how it's going. But I also monitor, there's a website called like Deep State Live or Deep State Map. It's something close to that. And it pretty accurately shows where the front lines are. And you can click like through the calendar, go forward and backwards. And it is all moving in one direction. And it's not the one the Ukrainians prefer. Like at least maybe it was 18 months ago. Ukrainians did gain like a little bit of territory. And there was this thing like, you know what, at this rate, in a mere 700 years, they'll have recovered all that territory. But at least it was going in the right direction. And as you know, the way these things kind of work in war, that you kind of press, and then break through. And I'm like, maybe that's what this looks like. Maybe this is what it looks like before the breakthrough. It no longer feels like that. Now it's the Russians pressing.
Like I would say, like if you're looking for like a better, more palatable loss or like a not win condition, a loss condition, I guess you'd call it, is like the better loss would be stopping throwing all of these people's lives at the wall for no reason. Like how about you end with less? Like Russia's not going to lose the Donetsk and the Luhansk region.
I don't understand your mindset here. Like, I don't get it. It'd be like, yeah, dude, they're just going to let them have Missouri. Come on, we'll go to Idaho. Like, what is that? You couldn't make me leave. If they were,
number one, it's not America.
If they were coming
about Ukraine.
Well, I'm not. They're not asking you to go fight. I'm talking. You're asking you to pay for it. But you're talking about what Ukrainians should do. You're if I'm a Ukrainian, I can't believe they're throwing Ukrainian lives. That's the lives. It's their land.
They clearly. Then are they? Are they? If the
Mexicans were coming, if the Mexicans were in Louisiana and they were about to be in Alabama or whatever's next to it, I'd be like, no, they can't fucking have Alabama. Let's not talk about that
made up scenario. Let's talk about the real scenario. You're saying that all these Ukrainians should,
okay, now the Ukrainian
they want to defend their country. Clearly, hundreds of thousands of them don't feel a connection enough to be like, I'm going to die for this region that doesn't interest me.
Then they've broken the law.
Okay, well then some wartime government can just shut down elections and be like, which they can because power is everything.
Just like ours.
Yes, our government.
That's how governments work. That's what our government.
Yes, it doesn't make it just like if it's not better. It's not better for an average Ukrainian to just keep fighting and knowing like you're going to go to the front lines. You're going to get probably killed. They're going to watch a video of a drone killing a Russian and be like, "We're winning."
I don't know why the other part matters, but if they're trying to take your land, you should be fighting for it. And if you're not fighting for it, then you should probably be executed. Like,
You think they should just execute them
in the street? Yeah, I think that I'm not kidding.
The Russians would do it.
If they were coming around my little town and they were, I just have came back from my second tour of fighting in Arkansas, and there's some coward across the street, I'm ratting him out, and I hope they kill him in the street, or they send him to the front line without enough equipment, because that's what he deserves. If he's staying back here while wherever they're fighting for Arkansas, death to you. You are not an American anymore. You are a treasonous traitor. You are a coward. You've broken the law. You signed that paper a long time ago.
How about this? How about there are multiple referendums in which New Mexico and their overwhelming population votes to join Mexico.
Like
and then
Texas.
you're pulled from your world in Georgia against your will and that of your families and forced to the front lines in New Mexico to fight for people who don't want to be part of the nation you're a part of anyway.
We resurrect Sherman and burn the place down until they become loyal again.
I'm perfectly fine with that. The whole reason that we have Texas is because the Mexicans were allowing mostly white soldiers to go to that frontier land and then not defending them as they were being massacred, raped, and pillaged by the natives. So when the United States took that property, it was because the Mexicans weren't defending that land. That's our land. So it doesn't matter to me if there's some people in Texas who don't think it's America.
Well, I picked New Mexico because it was a similar name and more fun.
Well, New Mexico can become the enemy. Anyone who's not down is an enemy. It's a war. This isn't like one of those internet arguments. It's like we're shooting those people to death over there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and it's if everyone of your buddies is getting conscripted and they're all dying, having their lives thrown away in their 20s, 30s. Now your 40-year-old buddies are going. Now your 50-year-old buddies are going. And there's no good result of it. People are just dying, getting thrown up against this wall.
I'm not going to go try to avenge my friends and my family members. I'm going to stay here like a coward and live a long, sad life. No, I'm going. If they kill you two, if you two are dead, the Russians have killed you two, or the Mexicans have killed you two, you think I'm going to stay here? People be like, what happened, Kyle? How did you survive the Mexican War? Oh, I stayed at home. Well, didn't all your friends die? Yeah. All your neighbors too? Yeah. How are you free? Well, no one knows. Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. They're reporting me to the Mexicans. The Mexican government's going to hang me.
Get you.
Yeah.
After 9/11, I wasn't serious about like joining the army or anything. One, I'm pretty sure I was too old, like by like 2 years, and I had a family and I had kids and all that. Like I just wasn't the guy. But I was like daydreaming and like thirsting for an opportunity to get back at them. And I didn't even know anyone at 9/11. I got a coworker whose boyfriend was there, but he was fine. He was
lucky.
Under the Twin Towers, there's a really busy, well, there used to be a really busy train station, and he was in the train station when the planes hit. It shook, but he got out.
Yeah. No, I
just don't see it that way. Like
it just hasn't been that long. Like the world didn't change. The people just have a different mindset. This is how humanity works. Putin still has that same mindset. He's trying to conquer a country with soldiers. I feel like if you lay down in front of that, you don't deserve to be a free member of any society. I certainly wouldn't want some coward fleeing from Ukraine to come here.
I wonder if France and Poland are going to step up.
Anyway. Ukraine, up until it became politically disadvantageous to acknowledge it, was well known as like the most corrupt mob state in all of Europe for decades. And then it was like,
true, but I feel like
freedom because we want NATO military bases there.
So Taylor, I hear your argument and I don't challenge the facts of it, except that I thought that when Zelensky got in, people mostly acknowledged they're cleaning up their act and headed in the right way.
I don't think so. I think he just shut down elections. He's been attacking those regions.
Doesn't seem like the time for an election.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good example of being corrupt. I also we did as well. Seen him throw out.
It's what we. Why do you smirk at
more about that
when we're talking about the third greatest president of all time and how he won the greatest war in human history? Why is that smirkable?
Because he shouldn't have canceled the election.
How did he go for it?
Oh, okay.
FDR stayed in power until he died.
So we did cancel elections.
Yeah, that's how we got in. He effectively did.
Help me with my history. I think you guys both know something.
I don't believe there was another election. I think FDR stayed in power for a third term. Because the amendment hadn't happened yet either, hadn't it? Was the 22nd amendment?
It wasn't until after him that they made it. That's like, all right,
it was a tradition, though. No one had ever attempted a third term. But what I'm saying is they're not in some Gulf War nonsense like we've been, some little foreign excursion. They're fighting for their lives. The enemy's on their doorsteps practically. Their capital's being bombed. It's not time for an election.
That's fair.
I mean,
I think I'm with Kyle on this one. That makes a lot of sense. And he's been
it's also not time for maybe a new general too. I don't. It'd be like we're going to the NBA finals, and come on, it's time to hire a new coach.
Ukraine changed their generals like 3 months ago, 5 months ago, something like that, and they've gotten rid of a couple people for corruption, which I brought up to counter Taylor's argument. Which I'm not saying that they're completely free of corruption, but nowadays, if you're corrupt, you get ousted. That's
there's so much corruption that happens in nations that are taking foreign aid that we basically control as proxy nations. Like corruption's part and parcel of it. Like when we give all that money to them, lots of their officials are getting kickbacks. They're getting advantageous future placement in American companies, boards, what have you, because of their participation insofar as we tell them to do it. Like, I don't think Zelensky is some overlord who's like controlling America or some nonsense. I think he's just another kind of vassal leader that we tell to dance and he dances and we give him money and then it's rerouted to wherever it gets rerouted to. Like there's no way to keep all of that stuff accountable at a time of war. And given Ukraine's multi-generational history of having issues with mob control, the idea that it's like, oh, well, they're taking corruption seriously now.
I feel like a good analogy would be like we're trying to stop the ship from sinking with a leaky bucket. And does that mean that and the leaking is the corruption? Is there corruption? Yes. But by and large, most of that water is going over the side.
It's what again, I go back to World War II because it's the United States saving the world against literal evil and us pumping so much money into the Soviet Union and of course into Britain so that they wouldn't starve, so that we could win the war. It's what we do. It's what we do. This is an American intrinsic planet, right? Like we're kind of the boss around here.
For now.
Forever. Who's going to beat the United States at anything?
Forever's a long time. But Kyle's onto something. Like when you're there.
If you look at the demographics and just the population rates, like we need those Mexicans to flood in here, frankly. Everybody else is in trouble. The Chinese one-child policy. Do you remember when they did that? When they only allowed them that?
That's pretty dumb.
We're seeing the end point of that very soon. It's not going to be good. It's no longer cheaper to build things in China, and they've never been the people who build the premier manufacturing techniques. As soon as it's less advantageous and less profitable to use those supply lines that are already set to use, China's already not the place to go. The problem is the supply lines are there. As soon as India has the supply lines, China's in trouble.
I think
their population is getting older.
Pretty terrible too, right? Like we're below replacement American citizens, right?
We have to be like
ahead of everyone. Our population's always growing,
but that's through immigration, not through.
Yes, okay. So now we agree, but that's okay. Immigration is a fine way to keep your population where you want it to be.
Yep, a lot of immigrants that won those world wars for us and built our country.
Yes, the Mexicans who built America.
Immigrants have a lower crime rate.
It was mostly the Chinese and a
higher entrepreneurial rate.
Chinese built that whole railroad.
I don't know. It seems like there's a certain political party, you can guess which one, who wants you to think that every immigrant is MS-13 gangster trying to rape your wife and daughters or whatever. Mm-hmm. But really, their crime rate is lower than ours, and their entrepreneurial spirit is higher than ours. They're not terrible people.
Well, I think a lot of people would agree that like people who come here legally are not terrible people. Most of the people I hear who have like huge umbrage with immigration are like, yeah, we don't want basically an open border where you can just waltz in and be a criminal. Like everyone who comes here illegally is a criminal.
The way that I like it, I usually, here's what my head is, and I'm not sure, this might be politically incorrect. It's the next generation that you're going to like. The people who come here, who have the accents, who are set in their ways, they're a little more like a salad than a melting pot, but their kids are melted in, and everything will be cool. Just relax.
I'm okay with the Mexican immigration. I always have been, more or less. It feels like they assimilate. It feels like they love the United States and our culture. It's the other people who come over who,
the Polish
the people in Michigan who chant "Death to America." I don't know if you saw that this week.
Kyle, they're entrepreneurs.
They are entrepreneur. They do have an
might be,
entrepreneurial
actually.
spirit. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's
But they also, I watched that thing, and I'm talking about, I think it's Dearborn, Michigan, and it's the Arab group there, and they're fucking losing their shit. Death to America. But my favorite was Genocide Joe. Genocide Joe. I'd never heard that one before. Can't believe that Donald's not jumping on board with this. Donald should be the moderate on Israel. He should pretend like there's a better thing than what Joe is doing without. He doesn't have to have it. He doesn't have to come up with an idea.
It's like both of them are beholden to the same donors. It's wild.
Can you believe what he's doing over there?
In Trump's case, I don't think what he says is determined by donors. I think what he does is, but not necessarily what he says, because he'll say anything. And what he said is Israel needs to finish the job. And it's like, you could have got those voters, but now you're not.
No, because they're
all human life is sacred. I believe in winning a war and winning it all the way. Now he just said both things at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, he does that. The Trump two steps.
You drop that and walk away. Every life is sacred. I despise what's happening over there. When you fight a war, you fight to win. See you guys later. All right.
See you guys later. I gotta go. I got a tea time.
Yeah.
You got a tourney to win.
I try to
get my
think
club.
of examples of the Trump two-step right now, but like he'll say something, the world will go bonkers. He'll back off it, and then he'll just say it again and again and again. But we've already gone bonkers, so now he's clear to say it without frustrating.
Yeah.
The bloodbath thing was a good example when he was in the context of automakers like going to Mexico or something like that. And he's like, it's going to be a bloodbath. But there was more to it. It was like the whole nation's going to be a bloodbath like nothing you've ever seen before. That's the least of it. And then he like goes back to the auto thing. Yeah. Well, the world went crazy. And they're like, oh my God, he said it's going to be a bloodbath. He's being hyperbolic and predicting this apocalypse. And he's like, you misunderstood me. I was talking about cars. Bloodbath is an economic term. Look, now he's saying bloodbath at every fucking rally. And he's not doing it in the context of automotive plants. He's like, there's going to be a bloodbath at the border. I'm calling him bloodbath Biden, bullshit like that. So that's the Trump two-step. You say it, you back away, and then you walk back forward.
I saw Rogan and his guests debating that thing that he had said about the bloodbath, and young Jamie rolls the clip back or whatever, and it was interesting to see Rogan not get it. Like I listened to Trump say what he said, and look, I'm quick to defend him. I like to. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, like that's not the Trump two-step. That's just Trump. He can't say one thing. God damn it, Trump. Why would you mention that other thing? But this time I was like, oh, he said the thing. He means a real bloodbath. He means both. What he means is you're going to be a bloodbath for the automakers. You want to talk about bloodbaths? That's what's going to happen if you don't fucking elect me and put me in the office. There's going to be dead people in the streets. That's what he meant. But but in the guest, he heard it the way I heard it because he was a very smart guy. He was a professor. So.
Okay.
And
he's
he's
like a smart person like me.
And then Rogan and the guest, after hearing the man say it, watching it happen on the big screen there, they still both have these different opinions about what's been said. And Rogan saying, no, you see, he was talking about the automakers. He's like, well, he was talking about automakers. He said things about automakers, but then there's an aside and like he tries to lay it out and explain to Joe. Joe's like, no, he's talking about, it's like, Joe, you're a comedian. You should get how this works. Like he didn't though. Look, Trump said that, and he meant it. He meant people might get hurt if you don't like go our way.
If you don't like prevent anyone from wandering across the border, and that is true. Like you shouldn't.
No. He was talking about cracking heads. He was about cracking heads.
He was talking about a bloodbath. I interpreted it as there was going to be a bloodbath, as in there was going to be sort of a localized war because people were walking across the border. The other thing, Rogan looks at the world through these red tinted glasses so strongly that he can't see honesty. Well, here's my favorite example. You probably saw it because it went viral. Biden was quoting Trump, and he said that we won the Revolutionary War when we took the airports. And Rogan is like, what a fucking imbecile. This guy's geriatric. He doesn't know what he's saying. He thinks the airports were there during the Revolutionary War. And then young Jamie pulls it up, and you hear it entirely, and Biden was quoting Trump. And then you hear Trump say it. And Rogan goes, oh, yeah, well, I guess, Trump fucked up. No big deal. Whoa. whoa. When you thought Biden said it, this was disqualifying to be president. That now that you learned that it was Trump who said it and Biden was mocking him, it's no big deal. It was a little fuck up, whatever, slip of the tongue. It happens to all of us. This is Rogan. Rogan is so far from being any kind of honest arbiter now. He's got the red tinted glasses on and he can't see truth anymore.
I think it's easier to see stuff on the other side with that. The same way like the good people on both sides thing. Like there are still people out there who will be like, see, Trump said he likes Nazis. He said the Nazis are good people. And it's like, well, maybe if like you just look at 2 pictures of that rally, like, and just look at the Nazis at night with their fucking torches, like there were thousands of normal people there.
You were there.
Oh yeah. just hanging out. You know me, very politically active. And like
you didn't know there was a rally that day. You were just visiting Charlottesville.
I was just having a time. I was trying to learn.
You were at an actual tiki torch party and happened to hold an actual tiki torch party. You're like, what the fuck is going on here?
He's in a bathing suit. Like, what?
Who's trying to replace us? What?
I was saying, let's go Blues. And I got the wrong line. But like, it's easy to look at the other side, and I agree with you there, and see what you want to see and what they're saying, as opposed and always offering your own side infinitely more leeway and nuance. Rogan's and being like, oh, Biden flubbed this name. What a retard. And then on the other side, you have people being like, Trump said to take Clorox and put it in a needle and inject it in yourself. And it's like, he never said that.
He said, was it disinfectant to inject
what
in
he
yourself?
said was almost like, I get, you're right, Taylor. He didn't say anything like that. But what he did, there was a time when he was like, they're saying they've got these powerful lights, these ultra violet lights, and
your impression's getting better.
And I'm wondering, could we use the light inside the human body? Could you?
I don't know.
Shine that light inside of me and kill that dirty virus, that Chinese virus. And it's like, no, we can't shine ultraviolet light inside of you to kill the virus, sir. We can't. No.
But you can get into something in bed and try.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's just not very honest from all sides. And it just happens to be that seemingly the right is more victim of it because they just have less control of the media.
Yeah. I see the disinfectant that knocks out in a minute, 1 minute. Is there any way we can do something that by injection or almost a cleaning, it gets in the lungs and does a tremendous number on the lungs? It would be interesting to check that. He really did say, inject a disinfectant.
We didn't tell people to do it, but he was pondering it, and that's almost worse. Like what about that statement?
Not one person injected bleach because he said that. He was talking about, hey, we're trying to, is there a way we could fix it this way? Can we get the bad parts out of your blood with some sort of injection? The fact that he thinks
like that is so ignorant. Like, that's ignorant. That's the kind of thing that you would expect some like imbecile on the street that Jimmy Kimmel has handpicked out of the crowd of idiots to like not know what state he's in. Like, the way his mind has to function for him to be there is first of all, he has to be in a position where he thinks that he's the first person to think of that he's going to go to his scientist and be like, hey, scientist man, 180 IQ, 4-degree man. What if we like took disinfectant and put it inside of us? It makes my counters 99.9% germ free. Could I, by ingesting Lysol, become myself 99.9% germ free? And it's like, yes, sir, you absolutely would. Of course, you would be very dead. Very dead, sir.
But all the germs would be gone.
Well, maybe we could revive me.
Take the good with the bad.
Could we revive me and not the germs?
I do think the disinfectant thing has been, like, the right is like, he never said that. He didn't mean it. My mother did that to me. She's like, do not say that Trump suggested injecting disinfectant. You will look foolish on your show. And I'm like, he did say that. I will say it on my show because it's true.
You're having conversations like that with your mom. Is so fun.
I do, yeah.
I don't think he literally said it, but what I do think he did was the fact that he's like pondering it and he's out loud. It's what he's doing. I
see disinfectant that knocks it out. Is there any way we can do something that by injection or a cleaning?
Yes, he's pondering and he's like, he's thinking he's like, would this work? Would that? He's asking questions. He's not saying, and I'm telling you, this stuff works.
Okay.
Get yourself a hypodermic needle. And, he's not doing that.
They sell them on Amazon.
Yeah.
But
It's a
don't buy from
retarded.
Bezos.
It's
Buy
a
the new
retarded
Trump
way.
hypodermic needle. You only need one.
You only need one.
needle for the whole neighborhood.
Actually,
They-
two, maybe two.
They
maybe
come in
three.
red. Make
Yeah.
America.
You're gonna need 10
disinfected
injections of the Trump vaccine. They call it the
Trump's-
Trump vaccine, folks.
Rogan's
Remember when he was
interesting,
taking
though.
credit for that?
If you look at Rogan's list of beliefs or the things that he
Mhm.
supports politically, very left wing. Like if you put it on a ballot, everyone would be like, "Oh, man, if we could only get a Democrat like that in the White House," because it's just like leftist all the way down. And then there are these little points
I'm
where
not sure that's true.
it's I got a graph.
From what I hear,
somewhere.
he's super
The thing is,
liberal.
I've
It's
seen
so
the
many
graph.
things.
And it's like for example, universal basic income is one of the things that they list
Mhm.
that Joe Rogan supports. He does not support that anymore. Joe Rogan has shifted. So they take these positions from 5 years ago and like, look at him. He's a leftist. And it's like, no. Listen to what he's saying lately. And he can't see anything redeemable about the left.
I
wonder
can't
why.
speak to
So-
Rogan. I don't listen to him, but he always seemed to me like one of those liberals who likes guns and like working out. Where
Catching
he's-
strays here.
Like, well, like you're too far right for like a lot of the mainstream positions of like the
Probably.
Democrats.
Of course he
like
is.
they're like they're in favor of fucking reparations, and that'll come. Like that'll come down the pike. They're in
I think
favor of. They're
that's
mainstream Democrats.
That's the left side of left wing, not the left corner or anything, but it's the left side. I'm interested in to know what Rogan's deal is, like what has changed. I see him when people get older, they often get more religious as they
Okay.
just get smarter. You know, they realize that
Mhm.
the Lord is in us all.
Mhm. Start getting a
And,
little more humble. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
Right.
huh, so you're telling me the sun is exactly 400 times larger than the moon and exactly 400 times further away? Who did that? Except for the Lord Almighty. That's Jesus Christ making that up there, making that perfect circle meet that other perfect circle. And to me, that's the closest thing to proof that there's a God that I've ever even heard of. The fact that like only here is the moon just perfect to give us that perfect eclipse. It's absurd. Like it's a ridiculous coincidence.
I would say our own existence is a better proof than that.
I would
don't
say
think
there is
so.
no
We could
God.
for all we know, there's like people just like us, like right down the road, like at the next star.
There
Like,
actually are people like me down the road.
That's fact check true. Yeah, that's a fact. There
There are other humans all over. You should have seen the
But
traffic
Rogan-
I went through.
I saw some at the grocery store today.
Rogan seems to have gotten maybe a bit more religious,
Mhm.
and I see that like I know that the Phelan Fox thing was big. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
That was the trans MMA fighter who was
He was
dunking
right
on
about that.
girls. Yeah, and I think that he got this backlash to that, and he was like, "Wait, I'm a lefty. Why aren't lefties with me on this? This is fucking common sense. Aren't we the common sense people? Aren't we those fucking believe in science people? You guys are the ones denying science this time. This isn't even some big environmental hoax. This is right in front of your eyes. Look at that man right there pounding that lady. She's hurt. She's hurt. Why are you cheering?" And he got backlash on that. And then the COVID thing happened, and he was, I'm sure he went to the best specialist possible, and someone gave him that chloroquine shit. That horse
Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. He took both.
yeah, and he was like, "Hey, I took these experimental medicines. I feel okay." And then he saw CNN take the video of him and put a fucking filter on it to make him look sick, and then make fun of him on mainstream media. And he's like, "Dude, I went to my doctor, and I've got a good doctor because I'm Joe Rogan, and he gave me this shit. And you took the video of me just saying that, expressing that to the world, telling the truth, and you made it a lie. You lied on me for your benefit you laughed at me. What are you doing? You were my people." It's one of those where like he's seen it and then he saw them going after Spotify. He sees them calling him a racist and a white supremacist. And this is like Dave Chappelle's best friend. He tours with Dave Chappelle. Like I don't know, and he's Bill Burr's buddy. Like he's
I think you're 100% right. And like, so there's the part you were talking about, which is the left has a purity test. And if you're not left enough, they'll give you a hard time. You know, that I'm sure if I was more popular, they'd have 1,000 things they hate about me.
They'll come for your job.
Right. Also, forgetting about, him I think just living in a place where it's the leftist place, which is like Hollywood, that he's surrounded by frustrating, annoying things. I've said this before, but I bet if Joe Rogan lived in Raleigh, he wouldn't be as annoyed by leftists, because we don't have annoying lefties here. There's people like me. Okay, we do have annoying lefties here. But there's people like me, but not like extreme, how dare you wear your mask improperly? Or I see a break in the seal next to your nose, kind of, I don't know, twist the knife, put salt in the wound, just some sort of cry bully power play that you see in New York City, Hollywood, etc. He's surrounded by the most annoying of the left, so he left them.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake.
Although, to be fair, like where he is in Austin is more left-wing than, or more left-wing than where any of us
in Austin?
live.
That's true. Austin is unbelievably left.
I like Austin.
Left.
Austin's
I didn't know
a
where
fucking
Joe
cool
was.
ass. Austin's a fucking cool ass place. I'm gonna go to Austin this year. I just decided.
Yeah,
do it. I was gonna go. I'm going on vacation soon anyway. I haven't decided where.
Where are you going? When and what time? When will your home be unoccupied?
Are you gonna miss the show, or are you gonna bring your gear?
Oh, I'll bring gear. I kind of considered doing a cruise as well. And I'll pull upon you whenever I get closer to making a decision on that. Although I don't know, I want to get into vacation talk. Anyway, Rogan, I think, got pulled along by all that, and then meanwhile, the right cozied up. The right said, "Hey, you're right. Like why can't it just be common sense? I don't want to be muzzled. I want to do my own thing." And Rogan's like a New Jersey blue collar working guy originally, who has somehow pulled himself up to be the biggest podcaster in the world, the biggest like news source in the world, one of the richest comedians in the world. He just got another $200 million deal, except this time now his shit's on YouTube as well. So it's just way more. It's better for everybody. And Spotify's distributing it on YouTube, I think, which I took to mean they're getting the ad revenue from YouTube or something. Maybe he doesn't get that, but
I'm sure he'll be okay without this YouTube CPM.
Yeah,
if you told him like, oh, they got rid of that,
it's $1 million a year or something.
It. Yeah.
Oh, he could have made 201 million.
Yeah, something like that. But I think that's what happened, and I think that's what happens to a lot of people, because you'll eventually get to an area where you're like, whoa. Well, but my daughter's not feeling comfortable with that. She's scared. You're not. What are you, a Nazi? Well, what? No, I'm not a Nazi. My daughter's just afraid of that man. Man?
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking about bedrooms?
And it's like that scene in Invasion of the Body Snatchers when Donald Sutherland's just like you're one of them now. Now you see that as soon as you're not woke enough, as soon as you don't go that extra step along the way, and those steps, we always earlier I said reparations is like far left, and it is, but it's heading this way. It'll become more and more acceptable as time goes on, because who doesn't like free money? And one group loves free money, and the other one loves being like being the bad guy and like being guilty. So eventually somebody's getting paid. I'm sorry. That's why I'm so happy with my 0.6% sub-Saharan African ancestry.
I think you're wrong.
I'm getting a check.
You're winning me over.
Like, think of how far we've moved in the last 10 years. Like,
wait, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, like, it's going to come, like, stuff like that will come down the pike faster.
Reparation?
Like,
it doesn't make any, it's completely impossible to implement, right? So
it would come in the form of certain groups no longer being forced to pay taxes, would be my guess.
We're going to have debit cards.
Or just straight up debit cards.
It'll be debit cards.
Think about like 15 years ago, what the political left was, and think about what it is now. Like when people were saying like, yeah, you should be able to get married. Literally no one like, and if someone would have said like, men dressed as women are going to demand access to your little girl's changing rooms, they would have laughed them out of the room and been like, that's despicable. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Crazy Christian. Yeah, right. Fundamentalist. And like now we're past that now.
Now it's
one of the litmus tests of the left, the mainstream left, is like, can men be women and women be men? And if you don't agree with that,
Bill
you're
Maher
kind of excised a little bit.
The moment Bill Maher realized what we're talking about right now is on film, because his guest is telling him, that you're slowly becoming the right-wing guy, Bill. Like soon you'll be excluded. Soon they'll come for you. Soon, if you don't agree that a man can menstruate, that a man can give birth to children, that a man needs menstruation products. Soon, if you can't, and the crowd's laughing, the whole crowd's laughing. He can't even.
I saw that. It was Ann Coulter.
Can't even finish their thought, and he's like, "What? Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. And then like the NCAA champion women's swimmer is a dude, you know? Like I saw that the thing below the NCAA, the organizing body that handles the smaller schools, like anything below, I guess AA
Like
or whatever.
D1.
I'm not familiar with it. I'm
Whatever
listening.
it is. But they came down 20-1 on the vote, like no transgendered athletes in physically competitive sports. I think they allowed them in cheerleading and competitive dance, which makes sense. They're gonna win that. Yeah, you've already got dudes out there as cheerleaders.
They boycotted an entire Woody's state for being like, "Hey, just don't go to the bathroom. If you're an adult man, if you're an adult
we
male,
lost the
you can't
fucking
go to the
All-Star game.
bathroom."
I don't want to hear about it. We lost the fucking All-Star.
We
game.
lost an
the
All-Star game too. It was
because
basketball. You wouldn't care.
people-
The NBA. It was a baseball All-Star game.
Because people
We
in
both
that
lost
state,
the one we wanted.
Like
didn't
7 of my
want-
players were in it in our home field. Like, what are you doing to
We
us?
don't have a team.
You should have
Well,
let
we
those
do.
men
Charlotte
pee
has a
next to
team.
little girls.
I don't know who should pee next to who.
It's so fucking easy. It's so obvious.
You know,
Just
it's
go to the
not
obvious to me.
You know, there's borderline situations that cause issues, and so
Yeah.
like, and I don't know what to do about that. I'll say this. Last time I needed a fucking public restroom where I had to get next to another person was so fucking long ago. Here's the solution. Fucking hold it, you losers. Fucking hold it. That should be the answer. Sorry. Hold it. And then there's maybe we need bathroom guards. I saw a guy.
No, just go to the one that whatever your sex is. If you're a male, go to the male bathroom.
What
If you're
is
a female,
sex
go
and
to the
gender aren't the
female
same
bathroom.
thing, you bigot. Jesus Christ.
Honestly,
Sorry,
this isn't as simple to me as it seems to be to Taylor, because like I don't want to say anything that's like Finster is a good example in my mind because she passes so well, right? And Finster, anyone who doesn't know would think that she was born a girl.
You probably wouldn't look twice.
Yeah, I wouldn't even notice. That's just a pretty girl in the same place as me. And if she went to the men's bathroom there instead of to like a woman's stall, I feel like it would cause more of a disruption than to just go to the women's bathroom. And use
I think that's like treating men and women as though they're the same though, and that's not the case. Like women are more threatened by people. Like they're smaller, they're more fragile. And so it's kind of the same way that people who are, when you have like an abortion argument with someone and someone says like, I'm against abortion, I'm in favor of abortion. And then the in favor person is like, oh yeah, well, what about in cases where it's a brutal rape ring in an underground tunnel and then and the baby is going to be born dead? How about then? And it's like, okay, well, now we're using
checked every box at once.
Now we're using
born,
like
dead, rape.
Yeah,
and the mother was going to die.
Yeah, and the mother was going to die. You hit me. Now we're hitting for the grand slam, and it's like, okay, well, so now we're using a 0.00001 to justify everything else. But let's look at like the reality of it. Do you think Finster is representative of that community, like the way he passes? No. Like what you would get is you would get guys, you would get people who looked like me and Kyle and you going into private spaces where young girls are changing. And that's not a fantasy. It happens already.
And here's the other
fantasy.
thing. It's not a fantasy.
of some gross people, yes. And
was the joke.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
Like, and so like the simple way to handle it is just logical. If you are a male, go to the male bathroom. If you're a female, go to the female bathroom. The problem is it creates a loophole. Like here's the thing. Like, okay, let's pretend like trans people are incapable of pedophilia. Let's pretend like that's the truth.
Okay.
But now the problem is you've created a loophole for all us dirty cis men. That's what we're legislating against, not against trans people. We want trans people to be wherever they want. They can shit piss in the streets if they want. But these cis men, we got to keep them out. And the problem is these cis men keep dressing up like ladies, wouldn't you know it? And we hate that. If you took that point of view, everyone in the room would be so confused as to how to feel.
Yeah, it works.
Like, no, we can't allow anyone to go in there. How do we know you're not a cis man in disguise?
Well, now that you've invoked cis men, you're using a population that's allowed to be criticized.
Except on Twitter. Try to type cis men on Twitter to limit your engagement.
Oh, a lot of stuff limits your engagement on Twitter.
You know why? Come on. A lot of stuff from the same angle limits your stuff. You could say Waffen SS forever, baby. That's going right through.
Oh, you
But
don't use Twitter. No, that is not true. Go your stuff if you're like anti-Israel gets throttled. I'm not gonna fucking tweet that. You know why I'm not gonna tweet it? Because they would strike me down.
It's gonna limit your engagement. What's the big deal? Nobody's gonna see it. Waffen SS, baby.
Your point was that it wouldn't limit my engagement.
I don't think it will. I think it'd go out to everybody and be just fine.
Well, I'm still shadow banned on Twitter from years ago.
But I don't think you could say like.
How can you tell?
There's a test where you can search if you're shadow banned or not, and I'm search banned on Twitter, so you can't find my account unless you type it in the URL.
Get out.
No, yeah, I don't know why it's been that way for a long while. Maybe because I got a little too silly back in the day a few times.
Oh,
dude,
let's talk about
maybe it was Dick Masterson.
Zach,
Dick
pull up Jake
Masterson's
Shields'
like
Twitter.
Yeah, go ahead. Jake Shields. Dick Masterson was like, Twitter banned you for like no reason, and I'm like, no reason? Like that sounds crazy to me. It would seem like what would they say their reason was?
Dick's would be for like I would imagine it'd be for bullying. Like his real reason, because I follow him on Twitter. He is. Oh, he
was joking when
he was joking about Nazi cartoons. What he actually does on Twitter is try to get people's goat all day. Like he is the ultimate, like whatever he is, the shape of whatever you pour him into. I will see him like going after people on the left, and then like 3 tweets later, after he's gotten a bunch of new fans for going after the left, he's like, "And all you fucking conservatives, get a load of this." And he's just engagement farming, and he knows what he's doing. But he's good at it.
I watched a little change in gears here from war and politics, but they're doing well, right, Woody? Aren't they doing well? They're not losing, are they?
They haven't been losing for a long time, right?
Seems like they've been losing for a long time.
It seemed that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm Googling Starlink and I can't finish my thought.
No, keep looking.
Last I looked, they had just taken back some inconsequential piece of land that they recently lost. It's basically a stalemate. And
I think they're losing.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't call it winning, but I'm going to make up a number. I bet Russia picked up like 100 square kilometers this year. So is Ukraine winning? Clearly not. They have less land than before. Is Russia winning? Well, like by a little.
Yes, because they have more land than before.
Okay, so Russia's winning, and at this rate, they'll have won the whole thing in 7,000 years.
Yeah, maybe it looks like it's all but won for Russia. Like, what's Ukraine gonna like? They can't.
Here's how I think it's going to go.
Dramatically.
Regardless of who wins, it will be won this way. They'll just press and press and press, and then something will snap, and they will gain tons and tons of land.
Yeah, I mean, how many more people does Ukraine have? They're like throwing 50-year-olds.
I don't know. I used to watch it.
I think they got plenty of people.
I watched this, like I followed this thing for hours a day, long after everyone stopped. But now I've sort of stopped too. I don't.
So the most recent strike that the Ukrainians did, and it's so funny because after the terrorist attack, and Vladimir Putin's like, "Oh, all of our defenses are on high alert. We're ready for anything from anyone from anywhere." And then the Ukrainians take a Cessna and load it up with explosives instead of passengers and luggage, and put a remote control inside and pilot the Cessna like 600 miles into Russia and blow up a drone factory.
Well, who could stop a Cessna, Kyle? Be reasonable.
Who could stop a Cessna? They move it like 250 miles per hour.
Sometimes double digits in speed.
Yeah. That's why you use it, because no one looks at that and assumes anything sinister. Yeah. It's like that's a retarded thing to fly armor like bombs with. Surely that's just some goofball up there.
Yeah, that's what air traffic control is like. Hey, Flight 327, who are you and why are you flying out of that war zone to our west?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. It's cool.
All right, you must promise me.
He says he's professional Russian.
Like, no, under Operation Cross My Heart, Hope to Die, I will allow him deeper intonation.
One thing I'll say, you know how like sometimes you'll have two guys fighting in the street, and like one of them's got an older brother who's watching, and you know that this guy can't win because if he
only
ever
one
starts
person's
to win,
allowed to win.
only one person's allowed to win. I think to some extent that's true with Ukraine. The powers of Europe won't let Kiev fall. Like that, I'll bet anything you want on. Kiev will not fall. If Russia comes close to taking Kiev, you're going to see some other troops showing up, some other technology showing up, or red lines. You're going to see airstrikes or something. NATO will be drawn in before Kiev falls. They're not going to make the new front line Poland. They're not going to do it.
Did you see whoever the fuck was like, oh, we're putting Ukraine in NATO now. Like, we're going to do it.
Who? I would like to know who that was. It was somebody important or like a reporter making a guess?
U.S. Secretary of State Blinken says Ukraine will be a NATO member. So that's the horrid news.
Horrid news if you don't like killing Russians.
Well, horrid news if you don't like World War III.
Well, hang on. Is there a period at the end of that sentence? Or does he say, like, one day in the future they will be? Because it's a pretty different statement, which I think is what he was probably saying. He's certainly not going to try to introduce Ukraine to NATO. But it was probably a question asked of him that is now being phrased this way so it'll get more clicks, right? That's why. They're like, well, can you imagine a future where someday Ukraine will be in NATO? Yes, I think someday Ukraine will be part of NATO. He's talking about Star Trek days in the future, I bet.
I do have the statement. Ukraine will become a member of NATO, period. Our purpose at the summit is to help build a bridge to that membership. So I feel like it's a little of both of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, they can't become a part while they're in the middle of this war.
That is like a NATO thing. I don't think you can join while you're at war.
Rules can be broken, and
for sure
they can make little workarounds if they want. Hopefully they do not, because then what is it like Article 5?
Turkey's not gonna sign off on that. They almost lost Turkey because of that those Russian psyops going on in Sweden, burning Qurans.
I don't know what's going on in Turkey, and I don't want to.
They're so smart there.
Ukrainians, the smartest people in all of Europe.
Yeah, France made some kind of big commitment to support Ukraine and bolster their own defense budget. But it turns out half of that is their own nukes. So that's not like defensive help for Ukraine.
Macron of France is talking reckless. He's talking out of pocket. Mm-hmm. Every time I see him talk, and he's talking about, if we need to send French troops, then we'll send French troops. I'm not drawing any red lines. We're ready to do this. We're ready to do that. He's ready to put on one of them Napoleon hats and ride into Russia.
Dude, I hope he does. I hope he's the first to go. I hope he's on the front lines tomorrow, putting his money where his mouth is, fighting hard.
If he goes, Poland will likely join, because Poland's also ramping up, and they're pretty much the new front line.
Man, Poland's just so long of being bullied from all sides. Just so long of just like, can we just please let us do our thing? Like, let us do whatever Poles do. We don't even know what we do anymore. That's how long it's been. If they could read,
they'd be very offended.
I never understood where that stereotype comes from. The like Polish people
being stupid.
I never questioned it as a kid. I just retold the jokes.
Yeah, it's just like, that's good. And I don't know any Poles, and so I choose to believe that.
I knew Tina honestly, but see, I felt the same way about Jewish jokes because I didn't know any Jews. So like I was like, what's a Jew like? I have no idea. No idea what their stereotypes
are. Where I'm from in Jersey, like a quarter of the neighborhood's Jewish.
Never seen one.
I'm definitely somewhere in between you guys. I knew Jews and I had Jewish buddies growing up. A few I played hockey with, but definitely not a quarter of the neighborhood. That's a lot of Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah.